Hello everyone. This video is a follow-up video of the Configure system, what we did last time. So in this video, we'll explain how the machine system work, the recipe, items, etc. So I've already created the Configure system for the machine. So object items on the machine can walk throughout the Configure. You can watch the last video to understand how you can make Configure system work. It's just like the straight configure for the machine, nothing different. So now let's create the machine. You need to go to Window, Production System. Now here you will find three categories, three windows: items, recipes, and machines. Items, here you will create every item you want. For example, crystal. In the asset, you will find a number of items that we created: coal, copper, crystal, etc. To create an item, you just click new item, you create a new item, you give it a name, a display name, an icon if you want, you create a category, and you say what physical item it is, what you give it the prefab. For example, for the crystal, we named it the item ID is crystal, category gem. If you have an inventory system, those will be helpful, the max stack size and the weight. And we give it a physical prefab, which is this one. When you do that, you need to add a script for the item called physical item, where you add the definition that you created. They will all be created inside of this file, demo data items. You assign it and you say how many one object of that is correspond of about how many quantities. Now this category, the conveyor carry position, if you toggle this on, that means like that you can assign what position the item will be on the conveyor. For example, some people want their items to be just like that normally, so they will uncheck the auto carry position. But maybe you want it to be like that, or if you have a cylinder, 3D object, cylinder, maybe you want it to be carried like that or like that. So for that, you just say so for that reason, you may choose oop, an auto carry position. Now for the recipes, it's also simple. You assign a recipe name, an icon if you want, processing time, which is the time that it will take for the machine to lay off objects. The required power, does it require power or no? Normally this one keep it 0, have to or you may add 7, like each time that item get processed it will cost 7 power, and unlocked by default or no. You can read all the definition of those uh, you can read all the definition of each variable inside the documentation. I believe it will be really helpful to read the documentation. And now after you can add the input and output, you can define how many inputs you want. Maybe you want one input, maybe the recipe requires 3 iron, 1 iron, etc. And the output, you can have multiple inputs or multiple outputs. If you have multiple outputs, you can put a delay between each one. And to put a delay, you need to go to machine. Now in machines, you create the machine. For example, now to create the machine for this one, what you can do, you can create a new machine, this one, give it a name, let's say DE, debar 2. Input ports, we have only one input port and one output port. Maybe your machine have multiple inputs and multiple outputs, so you can choose the number of inputs and output ports. Now you give it the prefab. what is the prefab, you put it here. So let's save it right there and put the prefab right there. Now you have two options, fix prefab and generate machine prefab. If you generate a machine prefab, it will create a new prefab with all the scripts in it. But if you fix it, it will just correct that prefab and add the scripts automatically to that prefab. I will fix the prefab. Okay, and now if we see, it added to me a script called generic machine, and it also added an input and output. So the input is where objects, if object enter that trigger, they will consider added to that object or no. So let's add it to enter the machine or no. So now let's create our input port. We have that cube. It will be the input port. Just reduce the size. Oop, make it like that and like that. Bit bigger. That's good. The output is the place where objects will live. So let's take it and put it right there. And now we have a machine. It works just fine. Now, in order to give a recipe to the machine, we add a recipe. You can have multiple recipes if you want. And you give it a recipe. Let's, for example, give it crystal recipe. The crystal recipe requires one input, which is coal. So let's add some coal in here. And now let's here toggle off the required power. It's off already. That's good. For the machine and for the conveyor, toggle off required power and don't allow fall off. Or just let's add a second conveyor right there. And now we hit play. As you see, object falls in the conveyor, they go on up and they automatically become crystal. Now, if you want to have a delay time, what you can do in machine, debugger 2, oh my bad, sorry, in recipe, uh, crystal, you can add a process time, let's say 1 second, and run. Now when a recipe is complete, it will take 1 second in order to have a crystal come out. As you see, take 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. Maybe you want to have multiple. So now if I go to Parker or recipes, Ruby, for example, the Ruby have two inputs, a stone and a gold ore. So let's add a stone and gold here and one stone right there. And what we can do is have multiple recipes for the machine. We add Ruby and now we hit play. So the next thing that you can do is go to production system, and in machine you can add an action on input add, on output leave, and on recipe complete. For example, if you want an animation to happen, you can go there, add an action on recipe complete. You have multiple actions that you can do. Let's do play animation. Go to our debarker, add an animator, So I already have animations that I made. It's called in debarker, and in there I have a run trigger that will command the running debarker, and we have has exit time in there, which is important to have. Then you go to production system and you type the trigger name. For us, I called it run. And we wait before output. That means that if multiple recipes are completed at the same time, he will need to wait. Sorry, that means if that recipe is complete, he will play the animation, then wait for the animation duration, and then put out that object. If you have that on, I advise you to have in the recipe to have 0 as process time and 0 as process time, so the time be the time of the animation and not the time of process time. So now if I hit enter, we see that object enter, the machine, it starts turning, we have production, it turns, produce, it turns, and it produce. So the last thing that we will explain in this tutorial is that generator. So we go there, we can add that generator. We have 3 original prefab, this one, and this one. So for example, let's add this generator, give it, oh sorry, power source. And now every single item inside of that power source will have uh, will have power. The power capacity of this generator is set to 500. So if I have the conveyor use 500, only the conveyor will turn on. So so the sum of all the conveyors, not or conveyors and machine must not exceed 500. If it exceeded, the last one will not enter. Therefore, you can just add, for example, multiple conveyors. So what we can add here, we can go to there, we can add require powers. Let's put it as 100, require power, put it also as 100, and here require power, and put it as a 400. So like that, this one will not work anymore. If I now hit enter, and in game mode, you can press O, it will toggle on that those sphere. Those sphere will show you if the object is on or off, if it has power or not. You can so to change the position of that ball, what you can do is go to the conveyor system, your conveyor, add, create an empty, and call it status. And you must call it status, and then the ball, which will show you the color. If it's red, then it doesn't have power. If it's green, that it has power. Inside of that game empty. For example, here we can see that the machine has no power. This green dot is for the machine conveyor, but for the actual conveyor, we can see for the second conveyor, sorry, the red one, we can see that it has no power. You can take it up, put it there if you want. So, however, if we take now the power, we put it to be. So now, if we take the same power, put it to be 600, we go back and to play mode. We can see that it's still not working because it's Yeah, because we still have an overload. It cannot supply all of that, so we need to have it 619 or whatever, or 613 technically. Oh, and now we have them all running. So that's it for the tutorial for the machines, generator, and conveyor system.